This is Alien Earth Episode 7 in a nutshell. Alien Earth Episode 7 opens with Slightly huddled in his room, moments after the climax of Episode 6, where we saw Slightly set up Arthur to be attacked by the facehugger, as he quickly dragged him away in a vent. We can see the mental toll being taken on Slightly here, as he is frantically trying to figure out how to get Arthur to Morrow on the beach. Smee then knocks at his door. Slightly tries to get him to leave, but he insists, as Smee pushes his way inside, seeing the body underneath Slightly's bed. Smee freaking out when he sees the creature attached to Arthur's face. Slightly quickly explains the blackmail situation with Morrow and his mother, as he begins begging his friend for help, lying, saying that Arthur will be alright. Morrow just wants the creature, as Smee reluctantly agrees to help him, the two boys dragging the body outside the room. Meanwhile, we see Kirsh investigating the clusterfuck situation in the lab and the melted body of Toodles, two soldiers rushing in, capturing the two escaped flies. Kirsh telling Boy Cavalier this wasn't an accident, as he shows in the tape, where we watch the eye creature inside of the sheep orchestrate the events that led to Toodles' death. Cavalier freaks out with excitement, realizing just how smart this eye creature is, as he orders the creature to be moved. Wendy then arrives on the scene, seeing the wreckage in front of her and the dead body of Toodles. She demands answers, as Boy Cavalier attempts to calm her down. Wendy realizing that they aren't safe here on the island, as she decides she is going to tell the others. The guards attempt to stop her, but she intimidates them by calling the now full-grown xenomorph in the cage. It's then Cavalier and Kirsh realize that the trackers for the hybrids have all been turned off. Joe goes and meets with Wendy in her room. Joe, having fully made his escape plan the previous episode, says it's time for them to leave. Wendy convincing Joe to try and save some of the other Lost Boys on their way out, as they are like siblings to her. Wendy goes and finds Nibs and Curly. Nibs is still upset about learning from Wendy that they wiped her memories. Curly is mad at Wendy for this situation, but promises not to tell on her, as she decides to stay on the island. Wendy and Joe then leave, taking Nibs with them, as Wendy walks over to the monitor, using her ability to manipulate electronics to free the xenomorph in the lab. As they leave, we see the creature burst free on the screen, killing everyone. Cavalier goes and confronts Dame about the trackers being turned off, as he thinks that this was a plan between her and her husband Arthur to steal the hybrids. Obviously, Dame doesn't know anything about this, and she denies everything, as a secure lab breach warning comes over the loudspeakers. We watch Slightly and Smee carry Arthur's bodies through the hallways, when they are stopped by Kirsh, Slightly telling him that Morrow has been talking to him and blackmailing him, but Kirsh says he's known the entire time, which we the audience have also known, as Kirsh points them to the elevator, telling them how to escape. So far, we don't know exactly what Kirsh's motivations or plans are, why he is helping Slightly and turning a blind eye, but this is all revealed later in this episode. We flash over to Joe, Nibs, and Wendy, who stumble upon a gravesite, the spot where all the children's bodies were buried after they completed the hybrid procedure. Smee and Slightly make their way through the jungle with Arthur, dodging and hiding from soldiers. However, when the coast is finally clear, they turn, seeing that Arthur's body has vanished. They are then jump-scared by the body of the facehugger, when Arthur comes stumbling into the scene, dazed and confused, the man unable to remember the events in the lab. Of course, we know that the baby xenomorph has now been embedded inside of him, and it's just a matter of time until the creature comes bursting out through his stomach. The boys very poorly lie to Arthur, saying that there's been a gas leak and that has caused them to evacuate, and they must go to the beach, where his wife Dame is waiting for him. However, a little while later, Arthur starts to come to, realizing that the boys are lying to him, as again, they have the minds of children, so they are bad liars. Arthur, however, is compassionate, almost like a father figure to the boys. As he tells them whatever is going on, they will all figure it out together, as he takes their hands and they begin walking back towards the facility. Suddenly, though, Arthur doubles over in pain, falling to the ground, as the baby xenomorph comes bursting out of his stomach, slightly freaking out in anger, not being able to stop the creature and get it from Morrow. Smee is completely stunned at having seen the horrible death of Arthur, and his best friend Slightly lying to him. Slightly not knowing what else to do, continues to drag Arthur's body to the meeting spot with Morrow, Smee coming with him. Curly, upset, goes to Dame Sylvia, who comforts her, Curly referring to Dame as Mom. Slightly and Smee make it to the rendezvous site with Morrow, as we see Morrow and his Yutani Strike Force team emerge from beneath the water. Morrow is displeased at seeing that Slightly has failed, his team taking the two boys at gunpoint as they begin making their way towards the Neverland facility. Cavalier is in his room with the eye specimen, as we learn that the grown xenomorph has escaped the facility. Cavalier is absolutely fascinated by this eye creature, wanting to test its intelligence. He asks it about the number pi, the creature correctly being able to identify the next few numbers in the pi sequence. Cavalier, laughing with joy at having found such a smart species of aliens, decides they must embed it inside a human so he can try and talk with it, saying he knows just the person to use for this. Yeah, this definitely is not going to end well. Wendy, Joe, and Nibs are confronted by armed soldiers in the forest, Wendy calling the xenomorph who comes to their rescue, killing all of them, as she tells the creature to hide and follow them as they travel, Wendy truly becoming the xenomorph whisperer. We see a quick scene of the baby xenomorph being captured, as Morrow with Slightly and Smee makes their way into the facility. However, this was all a trap, set by Kirsh, as Morrow and his team are held up at gunpoint, Kirsh having captured the baby xenomorph. It being revealed that Kirsh was playing 3D chess this entire time, that he allowed Slightly to talk with Morrow so that he could lure him and his team to the island and set a trap for them. Wendy, Joe, and Nibs arrive at the boat docks. However, it is revealed that Joe's team of soldiers was waiting for them there so that they could detain them and take them back. One of the soldiers rips up Nibs' doll, Nibs breaking mentally, as she then rips the man's jaw off. Chaos breaks out, Wendy beating up some of the soldiers as she begins to call the xenomorph, but Joe stops her. Nibs grabbing one of Joe's friends as he breaks her neck. Joe picking up a rifle as he shoots Nibs with an electric beam. Nibs convulsing on the deck of the ship as she seemingly dies. Wendy turns to look at Joe, a look of anger and pain crossing her face, as she simply says,
"What did you do?"
As episode 7 of Alien Earth comes to an end. And yes, that was everything that happened in Alien Earth episode 7. Probably one of my favorite episodes so far, besides from the Morrow flashback episode. This episode was definitely one of the most dramatic, action-packed, crazy episodes of all times, as things have seemingly completely gone to shit. Probably the highlight of this episode was the grand reveal of Kirsch's master plan. My man is like Littlefinger out here, just constantly planning, playing 3D chess in the background. My dude seemingly has completely outplayed, completely schooled Morrow the cyborg. As for a few episodes now, we've been wondering exactly what Kirsh has been up to, as we know that he is aware of everything going on between Slightly and Morrow, but he is seemingly standing back and letting all of this play out, even going as far as to let, Toodles basically end up dying in the process, watching the entire time in the last episodes on the camera. Up until now, we didn't know exactly what Kirsch's endgame was, what exactly he was playing towards. Even now, we still don't exactly know, but it seems that he was just letting things play out the entire time, so he could ultimately lure Morrow into a trap, lure him onto the island, and set him up, to be taken hostage. Again, we don't exactly know what Kirsch's end goals are. We assume that he is working towards the benefit of Boy Cavalier, his creator, but at the same time, Kirsh is a very interesting character as the original synthetic. I mean, obviously, my guy is extremely giga smart. He has a massive, supercomputer AI running in his, for a brain, but so we don't exactly know what Kirsch's end goal motives are. We still don't exactly know, and I have a feeling that Kirsh is going to be a very important character to the the penultimate story, the ending of Alien Earth, whenever it comes in the next few seasons, as, there seemingly is more than one season of Alien Earth being planned. Whether it is this exact storyline with Wendy and the Xenomorph and Boy Cavalier on the island or not, we'll just have to wait and see and find out. It seems like in a broad sense, we kind of know where this story is going. It very much seems like Boy Cavalier is, like his genius and his flagrant disregarding of the rules will ultimately lead to the downfall, of his company, and at least, possibly his death, if not the release of the Xenomorph, the death of the Xenomorphs, possibly the deaths of all of the Lost Boys in the process. There was that interesting line from this episode that Boy Cavalier plans to put the eye alien specimen inside of a human so he can communicate with it, as Boy Cavalier's, primary goal is just to find someone smarter than him to talk to, as he seemingly hopes this alien might be that creature, might be smarter than him. The question is, who is he going to put the eye into? Now, my initial thought is really down to two characters, the first one being Dame. Now, this would be a rather rash thing to do, but it's not like Boy Cavalier is the most rational actor at times, and we know that he is angry at Dame for the whole situation that played out. Obviously, he was angry at Arthur, Arthur getting fired in the process, so part of me wondered, my first, kind of instinct here was, oh, he's going to put the eye in to Dame. But at the same time, though, this maybe wouldn't make sense, as he does need Dame in order to do all of the diagnostics and take care of all of the hybrids, unless he just completely plans on replacing him. But in the scene we saw prior, the only reason that he fired Arthur, that Arthur was fired, was because Dame was the one that stepped up and said that she could do the job of both of them. So it seems like they need at least one of them, and Arthur is dead, so it seems like they do need Dame to take care of the hybrids. So we'll just have to see exactly what plans out with that. My other thought process was that it's going to be Joe. We already know that Boy Cavalier wants to get Joe out of the way. He already is willing to, use him as an experiment. He's already used him as an experiment in this series, so it does seem like Joe is possibly the primary candidate to be used for the eye creature, being embedded into his body, something that definitely would not make Wendy happy. That would probably result in her snapping. Wendy is already extremely terrifying because of her physical abilities and her mind, her giga-huge AI brain as a hybrid synthetic. But on top of all of that, you add the fact that she is now the mother of xenomorphs. My girl straight up pulling a Daenerys Targaryen, managing to, basically speak with this xenomorph imprinting upon her, and she can now control it. Seemingly control it. This episode was absolutely amazing. One of my favorite episodes. I love everything about this series. I love how it has expanded upon the Alien franchise and the Alien universe. I love that the xenomorphs aren't exactly the core kind of element of this story. There's like so many other things going on here, and there's a lot of very interesting, human elements, human character elements, storytelling, interplaying amidst the, sci-fi horror of the xenomorphs and these other very interesting alien specimens. That's another thing that I love about the show, is the introduction of other alien specimens, really going deep, especially this eye creature, as these xenomorphs, while horrifying and, potentially world-ending for many places, as they are like one of the most like threatening, unkillable predators in the galaxy, in the Alien universe, isn't the only, if alien specimen out there. If this thing is absolutely terrifying, that there would be other creatures out there who are just as smart and just as terrifying, and I love that we're kind of delving into that. Oh, as well, we have the deterioration of the relationship between Joe and Wendy. There was a very kind of symbolic scene earlier where Joe was, mourning at like Wendy's, Marcy's grave when they stumbled upon it. Obviously, though, his sister is very much still alive, at least seemingly mentally in her personality, yet Joe stops to mourn the grave of his dead sister at the same time. This episode being the moment where Joe and Wendy really kind of split up. There is this major crossroads in their relationship after, Joe made his decision to seemingly kill Nibs, assuming that Nibs is dead and can't be repaired. The way that Wendy reacted seemingly indicates that, Nibs in many instances is dead, but it's really hard to know until we see what happens next episode. But from what happened in this scene, in the climax of episode 7, it very much does seem like this is a major turning point for the relationship between these two siblings going forward. And it very much seems like this could be the moment where Wendy really, Wendy is a character that is battling between like humanity and like her robot synthetic nature, letting these two sides of herself, interplay. And it very much seems like she is leaning towards, Kirsch's way of getting rid of her, human side, casting aside her, human emotions and all of these things, and embracing her full synthetic, kind of AI nature, which would be a very horrifying thing to see. I also love the production of this show. I love the way that it's shot. There's so many fascinating, super interesting, cinematic, cinematography elements of this show, the way they shoot, many of these scenes, how many scenes and many things that are almost implied. You really have to be paying attention in this show to pick up all of the really subtle kind of elements that are, being left off. Even just the fact that Morrow, or even just the fact that Kirsh was aware of everything going on with Slightly and Morrow up until this point is only gleamed through very small kind of inferred scenes that have taken place over the last few episodes, and stuff like that I absolutely love. As always, though, guys, with these videos, these are just my thoughts and opinions, so feel free to let me know yours in the comment section down below. What are your theories for Alien Earth and the future of this series, everything going on here? What did you think of this grand reveal of Kirsch's master plan? Let me know in the comment section. As always, guys, if you did enjoy the video or learn something new, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as that is the easiest way to support me, and it really does go a long way in putting this video into the algorithm. If you did like this video, then want to check out some of my other videos on screen now. And as always, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, Auto.